Champagne is one of the most admired and sought-after wines, often imitated but never duplicated. This wine holds a special place in the hearts of wine lovers the world over. Many adore it, but few know what the region really looks like and the elements that go into a great bottle of champagne. Join creative Fabi and I on a journey through Champagne. We'll meet with 4 producers, both big and small, to uncover the keys that make this great bubbly we all love. That all starts right now. Champagne is a large wine region in northern France. Driving through this vast land, you might not expect that some of the world's greatest wine is made here.
How do you love the beautiful flat landscape of Champagne?
After a night's rest, we meet with Edmund Sherman, a local expert who's been living in the region for 14 years. He's here to act as our guide and translator. We meet him at the cellars of JM Goulard. Here we'll go over the first component that makes Champagne what it is, the growers. Carl, Fabian, and I head out with JM Goulard, the proprietor of this estate.
Of all of the plus minus 16,000 grape growers, you have very few percentage-wise who are like Damiens, who are independent wine growers who are making their own wines as well as growing their own grapes. The vast majority, you have to understand, they're not doing from A to Z. They're not actually making the wine. A year like this year, when you have such excessive precipitation and humid pressure that's just constant on the vines, then you have to get out, you have to do the work, especially if you're not only sustainable, but you've already transformed your vineyard to organic, as Demière has.
JM Goulard farms organically, which can be tough in a region like Champagne that receives a lot of rainfall.
It takes a lot of energy and work to be organic here, because it's one of the area in France that usually gets a lot of water.
When do they usually harvest the grapes?
Historically, it's as of the middle of September in Champagne, but since really 2000, we've increasingly had a number of harvests that have begun before September. So for Damiens, he's very clear. He really needs this trilogy of the relevant levels of sugar in respects to the potential alcohol, and for him it's going to be 9, 10, not much more than getting to 11.
Surprisingly, over 70% of the grapes planted in Champagne are red grapes. It's September when we arrive, but in this cool, wet year, not all the grapes have changed color yet. In the cellar, Carl explains how JM Goulard uses a press to transform his grapes into champagne.
The principle of the press is not the material. The principle of the press is the length of time to extract the juice. When you pull the grape off of a stalk and you squeeze gently where it was connected, you have a little bubble of juice. So you're not squishing the skin, because of course the skin is where we have the tannins, the natural yeast, sugar. We have lots of things that we don't want to have interacted. Over 2/3 of all the vineyards in the entire appellation of Champagne are dark-skinned grapes of Pinot Noir and Meunier, but over 80% of all of the Champagnes are going to be white wine based.
Champagne is a wine that has a second fermentation in the bottle, which is where the bubbles come from. That means you need a lot of equipment in the cellar, which can be taxing on a small grower. Let's see the difference, starting with the entry-level Champagne from Goulard.
All the answers are in here.
Chardonnay, Meunier, and Pinot Noir, 30%.
I think it's what Champagne should be. The stuff like you want to drink the whole bottle of, definitely.
It's morning. Are you going to spit?
No, it's aperitif.
Carl's an old fart.
I resemble that remark.
Damiens is a small grower that specializes in Blanc de Noirs, which is a white champagne made from red grapes.
This is what I live for. I love 100% Meunier. And never say Pinot Meunier or I kill you.
Wonderful wines. Champagne, nobody can beat champagne with the bead of bubbles too. Those fine bead of bubbles. We're deep into the tasting when Fabian has a question.
What type of glass should we be using?
The important thing is that it really should be able to help exit the carbon dioxide and get that out so that you have the fruit aromas kept within, so you don't want to have too wide of an opening up top, but you want to get some of that excess gas out so that you just focus on the fruit, the aromas of the wine.
What's a wine tasting in France without food? Champagne is one of the most food-friendly wines. It goes with everything, from cheese to meats to dessert and everything in between. This is the first time I've had the wines from Goulard, and hopefully it won't be the last. Tradition is another element that sets Champagne apart from most wines in the world. Taittinger is a well-known house. It's the perfect embodiment of this concept. Taittinger educator and ambassador Jean-Pierre Redon explains why.
Taittinger, as you know, it's a family company. So we are also very happy to be the last house still independent, the largest one still independent, family owned. And Taittinger, it's also the Chardonnay brand, as you know, when the family arrived in Champagne during the 30s. From the beginning, François Taittinger decided to use first Chardonnay grapes, and it was a kind of revolution. Today, Taittinger owns the third largest private vineyards. You know, we own close to 300 hectares, and it represents 50% of what we need.
Even the cellars at Taittinger scream tradition.
Here, we are in the 3rd century. This is the famous Gruyère of Champagne. Reims was built first by the Romans, and it was the capital of Belgium at that time, so the city was very important. So the Romans, they need stone to build the city, but there's no stone in Champagne, so they found the stone underground. Actually, it was a stone quarry here. So they opened first vertical cheminée to get through the soil, and after they enlarged in pyramidal shape to avoid collapsing. During Middle Ages, it was rediscovered by the monks, and the monks thought here's perfect condition for to age wines.
These caves are under the city of Reims, which are carved out of soft, chalky limestone.
This was during World War I, correct?
Another example of what makes this region unique. After a walk through the cellar, we meet up with Vitalie Taittinger, the president of the Taittinger Empire.
What does tradition mean to Taittinger and Champagne?
So tradition for me, this is this gift of the time and the gift also of the past generations. They have really worked a lot on each improvement in vineyards, in vinification, in everything to make Champagne as it is today. In the future, we will be more and more strong if we always are looking for quality and excellency. We have to give always life to this tradition.
Now it's on to the tasting, starting with the classic Taittinger label.
Based on the freshness, the elegance, yeah, more on the reductive style. It's wine easy to pair, great wine for aperitif, of course.
It's good, but I'm really blown away by the label I've never tasted, the Prelude.
Only Grand Cru grapes.
This is the style of champagne I like. A little bit of rich. It already smells intense, rich.
More rich, more crispy.
It's a hell of a wine. It's a hell of a champagne for €50. I can tell Jean-Pierre likes really the tack sharp acidity. You want...
As we move on to the rosé, Jean-Pierre explains an interesting champagne fact.
Rosé was the first color of champagne.
Of course. During the 18th century, the monks did not know how to separate the juice from the skin, so at the beginning, champagne was pink.
On to one of my favorite champagnes of all time, the Comte de Taittinger.
Only the Chardonnay coming from the Grand Cru villages.
If there is one that you should definitely try once in your life, it's Comte de Champagne from Taittinger, but not especially young vintage. Look something that is 20, 30 years old or even older. It's where really it takes all its power and its charm.
You love it?
Not a lot of bad wines, a lot of beautiful stuff all over, nice people. Welcome to France.
It's evening time and we're ready to hit the town. Fabien takes me to Gueuleton, a French franchise of restaurants dedicated to bon vivants, people that are born to eat, drink, and live. Looks like I'll fit right in. Fabien takes photos for their magazine and social media from time to time, so he's on the clock when we arrive. I'm just there to eat, drink, and enjoy.
Amazing. Welcome to Champagne.
Champagne menu is insane.
We start with a grower champagne before moving on to a croque monsieur with truffles. Think freakishly good grilled sandwich, along with escargot and bone marrow. Now it's time for the meat and an iconic red wine from Languedoc. They both go really well together.
Smells really good. Anglais.
In the village of Fleury, we meet up again with Carl and Jérôme Niziolek. He's the proprietor and winemaker at Demière. He's a grower that produces his own champagne. And Jérôme works with the 3 major varieties of champagne: Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Meunier. The latter is what he focuses on.
The predecessor generations, they only had Meunier, so he kind of had to just work with it to start. Historically, Meunier has always had a really bad rep, and it's only good for blending. Because it lacks finesse, it lacks the potential for aging and ageability. Jérôme started planting Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, so he could also have, that's why we have some wonderful Chardonnay here.
Deep in the cellar, Jérôme is committed to showing us how great champagne can be made with Meunier.
When they would have a party, they would come here, the guys, they would drink, and the first person who drank so much that they fell down, the others would cut his tie, throw it up there.
Vin Clair is the base wine of champagne that hasn't went through a second fermentation yet. It's known for having piercing acidity, even from a variety like Meunier. You guys know I love Riesling, but if you're an acid freak, base wines of champagne, you know, my videos I also talk about I was addicted to lemonade as a kid. This is like a lemonade for adults, I guess. Chardonnay and Pinot Noir are known to make champagnes that age finely, but now it's time to taste some 100% Meunier. Let's see here. Am I the only one that has to guess? Old vintage champagne, getting nice honey note along with all the complexities that you're going to get in champagne.
Honey, nutty.
The bubbles are still pretty damn good. Just tasting some of his base wines and stuff, it doesn't surprise me that it's still pretty young for whatever it is, because his wines have so much acidity. I can't believe it's a 70s wine. I mean, it's still really youthful and vibrant for being something from the 70s. The tasting room has beautiful views over Fleury, and here Jérôme keeps showing us the wonders of Meunier. The vintage champagne really knocks our socks off.
Contrary to what most think, Meunier can have an amazing amount of finesse and elegance.
What you think?
If I don't spit, then it's good.
Really nice wine. I like really nice.
I love Meunier simply. And here is, if you come to Champagne, you must visit. True expression of Meunier.
Jérôme's style of Pinot Meunier is probably unlike it's got all the Blanc de Noir's flavors, like strawberry, red fruit, but it has like that sharp acidity of Blanc de Blancs.
Pinot Meunier. Historically, I've always said Pinot Meunier because they always thought Meunier came from Pinot Noir, which is actually scientifically been proven ain't the case. So I don't say Pinot Meunier anymore because it's not from the Pinot Noir.
Sorry, Meunier. Ailly is a Grand Cru village, and it's home to one of the region's gems. Bollinger is one of the most respected champagne houses, and since they don't accept public visits, there's an air of mystery and intrigue about some of the processes. You excited about Bollinger?
Let's see.
We meet up with the cellar master, Dennis Bonheur, to dive deeper into the winemaking process at Bollinger.
But also we are negotiant, that means we buy grapes from our growers.
What's the percentage?
Half-half. We age everything twice the normal time. 3 years for the non-vintage, 7 years for the vintages, even more for Bollinger RD with 14 years of.
We take a quick stroll through one of the vineyards before heading into the cellar, where the magic happens. Bollinger barrel ferments the base wine of all their top champagnes, which is more expensive and unique. How do you determine what grapes get fermented in stainless steel versus which ones become barrel fermented?
So just after the pressing, we run some analysis, and we are analyzing the maturation level and the equilibrium between the natural sugar and the acidity and the sanitary condition. If everything was perfect, and if the grapes are coming from Grand Cru, then you can enter into the barrels room.
They also barrel ferment some of the base wine that goes into their entry-level champagne.
All the vintages at Bollinger, that means La Grande Année, Bollinger RD, VVF, are fermented in barrels.
What does the barrel fermented base wine bring to the champagne?
In Champagne, we are with few maisons fermenting in barrels. So we are not searching oak taste. We are more searching the natural phenomena of macro-oxygenation. So you prepare the wine, it's like a vaccination, if I dare. The barrel fermentation prepares the wine to age over a normal time. The second point is that when you ferment in barrels, you have little volume, so you can separate each terroir, village by village. So we have much more precision thanks to the barrel.
Since barrels are crucial to the winemaking process here, Bollinger also employs their own cooper, known as a barrel maker. So few wineries around the world actually do this, and today we get to see a repair process. Down in the cellar, we see another specialty of the house. A unique thing about Champagne is the ability to blend different vintages.
One specific point in the winemaking process of Bollinger is to use reserve wine kept in magnums.
Bollinger ages their base wines in magnums before putting it the final blend together.
That means that each year we are opening 80,000 magnum.
A quick stroll through some of Bollinger's 6 kilometers of caves reveals the archive. Man, we could stay here all day. You want to stay down here?
Yeah. If it is good for the wine, we do it. More than 70 different vintages.
Up in the tasting room, we start with the Bollinger Special Cuvée, the flagship wine of the estate. This has long been my preference for entry-level champagne. 55% is reserve wine.
And normally, do you know how much the wine house is using?
No.
It's around 30%.
I love it. It's one of champagne I've been drinking for many years. And I think if you want to start understanding some of the premium of champagne, it's a benchmark that you need to discover.
We run through the range, including the prestigious wines of Bollinger, La Grande Année and Ardeix, which is aged for 14 years before release.
You get the acidity as a backbone, you get minerality, salinity notes, and well, you can pair it well with food, but I'm not sure I would even put food on this. It's too beautiful.
I'm going back to the special cuvée. Grande Année and Ardeix are special wines, but I like that most people can afford a bottle of the special cuvée and get the house style. Yeah, my last question is, should you really decant champagne?
To me, is that if you decant, you create a strong oxidation and you will miss a lot of complexity.
High five to this. I said just get good glassware and respect the work and the wine itself.
Dedicated growers, tradition, the grape varieties, and winemaking techniques add up to a wine that's truly unique. Thanks to hundreds of years of experience, the quality bar is set high in Champagne. So when you buy a bottle, expect to get something delicious. Unfortunately, our time in Champagne is up. I'd love to stay longer and visit several other cellars. I guess there's always next time. There's a lot more coming on French wine. Stay tuned to the channel for more.